Hey y'all, welcome back to the DG Outdoors channel. Guys, in today's video, I'm bringing you guys a video by request. So a couple weeks ago, I asked you guys, hey, would you like to see a review on this Bass Masters Top Techniques of the Bass Pros book that I got from Goodwill for $5, and 70% of you guys said yes. Now, I'm using my small ring light in this video, so if it goes light and dark like it normally does, it's because I don't want a bunch of glare on the pages so you guys can see the pictures as we go. Now, guys, this book came out in 2003. It was part of the Ultimate Bass Fishing Library. I guess they had a set of books on fishing, all different kinds of fishing and things like that. This book is pretty cool. Okay. So as we go through, you've got your contents, your introduction page and stuff like that. And the first thing they're going to talk about is different kinds of fishing lures, which this book has it all, okay, in it, and it's pretty neat. So when we start out with it, okay, they talk about a layman's guide to topwater bass fishing, okay? And in each section of this, they have the pros profile, okay? And they go through some people that were fishing back in the Bass Pro circuit back then. This guy's name was Charlie Campbell, and talking about walking the dog, baits, and all that kind of stuff. But as we go into it, it's going to talk about buzz baits and different topwater lures. Okay, and I'm going to try to bust through this so this review isn't an hour and a half long. It's going to talk about chuggers and poppers, buzz baits, surface wobblers, and does color matter on the water? Things like that that you may need to know about different colors fishing different seasons. It's going to talk about prop baits. Okay, it's going to talk about weedless topwater baits, floating minnows, and then you're going to jump into a year-round cranking system. It's going to talk about crankbaits, lipless crankbaits, deep diving crankbaits, shallow diving crankbaits, all that kind of stuff. Okay, and it's got some really nice crankbait categories right here. Okay. And it talks about potbelly divers, flat-sided crankbaits, jerk baits, lipless crankbaits, metal bill crankbaits, critter crankbaits. And it just breaks it all down. Super nice for you. So you can learn about crankbaits. Okay? It's going to talk about just the things like that. Okay, it's going to talk about shallow crankbaits right here. Okay, shallow crankbait things. You're going to talk about where to fish these crankbaits. All right, like brush piles and things like that. All right, and then we get into all about lipless crankbaits and where to fish those and how to fish them, and they've just got some really neat pictures in here that are just cool. And then you're gonna get into all about your spinner baits, and it's got a picture of Kevin Van Dam right there. Again, I'm sorry for the picture lighting going in and out. I'm doing the best I can with this. It's got KVD. You're going to talk about customized skirts, how to cut them and make them shorter for better presentation for the bass. You're going to talk about the types of blades, the Colorado blade, the willow blade, the Indiana blade, things like that. Really cool. It's going to talk about plastic worms. Okay, and all different kinds of plastic worms, like the curly tail, the ribbon tail, the sickle tail, the tube tail, finesse worms, how to work the worms, what kind of rigs, Texas rigs, that kind of stuff. Swimming, flipping and pitching, dead sticking it, you know, all kinds of stuff like that. It's pretty neat stuff here. And then we get into jig fishing. And, you know, when to jig fish, what's the best time to jig fish, the colors, pork or plastic. Okay, they're going to talk about the trailers you put on there. You know, if you're going to use a craw trailer, what color, all kinds of stuff like that. Again, what kind of structure to fish these in. Okay, jig fishing in summer, things like that. Then you get into actual techniques of bass fishing. Okay, and how to do an advanced Carolina rig, if you want to know how to do that. You're varying your lures by season. Okay, if you can see right there, by season. Tools for flipping and pitching baits and things like that. It's going to show you all that stuff. Mastering finesse fishing. It's going to show you the here's some pictures of some finesse baits that they have right here. Pretty cool. Targeting a reaction bite. How to get the bass to strike your lure. Okay. There were different reaction lures. How to cover the water. Things like that with your lipless crankbaits and stuff like that, which is pretty cool. Year-round reactions. Catching bass you can see. So like when they're schooling up on the water and you can see them, how to catch them bass. Like that. It's like sight fishing for pre-spawn bass. For the cruisers. Patterns. Different bass patterns and how to recognize the patterns. I mean, like I said, this book is just stocked full of information and I got to read it in sections or it runs my ADHD out. So, like, the 4 seasons of bass. This one's pretty cool, because now you're getting into the time of year. Like, how to fish in winter, how to fish in the spring. It's telling you about different locations and different situations for where the fish may be during that time of year. Right? Like, it even goes largemouth locations, smallmouth locations, spotted bass locations. Goes through all of them. Okay? Finding the activity zone where fish bite. Pretty cool. I like this right here. This one. It talks about where to find the activity zone based on the temperature outside. If the bass are going to be suspended, if they're on the bottom, are they going to be, you know, that kind of stuff. But I really like, it's called the Fat-Free Fingerling Crankbait. I really, really like that picture. It's kind of cool. Then we're going to talk about super spring tactics. So they break down fishing in the spring. You know, the pre-spawn here is coming up, and that might be some things that you want to know. In spring, water temperature means everything. Okay? And you get into the spawn and post-spawn, and my best fishing's in the springtime. Beating the summer doldrums. This part talks about using bass jigs and frogs and all kinds of stuff like that when the heat is on, flukes. All kinds of stuff like that. You get into deep patterns in July and August. Carolina rigging, shaky heads, all that kind of stuff in here. The fall patterns, how to fish in the fall. We got a picture of Mr. Bill Dance there. Awesome. And water clarity. And then it gets into winter patterning. Alright, where to look for the bass in the wintertime. And winter for me is the hardest, and how to fish in the winter. Starting with points, heavy drop shotting, you know, things like that. And then it talks about the vegetation factor, you know, where to fish because there is no vegetation for them fish to hide. Where you're going to be looking, cranking roadbeds, things like that. Then you get into river patterns. It even breaks down the river so you can learn about what to use and how to fish the river. That guy's got a smallmouth right there. You know, year-round river patterning for your fish to find where they're at. And, you know, using a spinner bait like that with like 3 or 4 different blades is kind of cool. Crankbaits and jerk baits, where to look. Just all kinds of situations that you might be in when you're fishing the river. Things like that, you know. Yeah, tidal rivers. Then it gets in tidal waters. So where you might be fishing like Florida, places like that where you're going to have a high tide and low tide. Tidewater options. It breaks down everything you may need to know. Tidal dock bass. You know, when they're fishing around the dock for bass and things like that. Pretty cool. How to fish backwaters is one of the things in here too. Yeah, like I said, it just breaks everything down. Structures and cover. Teaches you how to fish all kinds of different structures. And what to use in that structure. Like bass in the woods. Okay? Like how to fish logs and trees and stuff for fish. And what kind of lures to use for that. It talks about many faces of jig bites. Know your bait. Attacking the grass, how to fish grass flats and stuff like that. Or maybe when the lake's super grassy. And like I said, it breaks down all the kinds of different grass you may have in your lake, different scenarios, and what lures to use, and all that kind of stuff for fishing grass. Fishing rock piles. Like in stone quarries and different things like that, which is pretty cool. Baits for fishing rock piles. It's pretty neat. Fishing bare banks for bass. And like I've said in numerous times, you know, different scenarios for that and baits and stuff. And then we get into rigging for bass on offshore structures. So yeah, like I said, this thing breaks down all different kinds of bass, all the kinds of bass fishing techniques and types that you may need to know or want to know. It breaks them down. Everything. Pretty cool. Okay. We're almost to the end here. Exploring ambush points. Right here. They talk about, you know, cranking crankbaits and things like that. And where to use the crankbaits. Pretty neat. Simplifying sonar. Okay, so this is the last chapter. Back then they didn't have forward-facing sonar. I don't think anything like that. This was 2003. So, but they talk about how to read your sonar and what you're looking at on your fish finder and stuff. And guys, that's basically the end of the book. So like I said, guys, top techniques for the Bass Pros. This is a really cool book, chocked of a lot of information. And you guys wanted to see it, and I did my best to kind of break it down. But, hey, it's been a 15-minute video, guys. A lot of good information in this book. You guys should pick this up. You probably can find it on eBay. I'm not exactly sure what it's going for on eBay right now. But check your local Goodwill. They had some more fishing books there I saw last night, but they were all about fish cooking recipes, and I was like, I didn't really want that book. But closer to deer season, I have other books I'll review. Turkey season, I think I got a turkey one. I'll go ahead and do a review for you guys on the turkey one that I have. And yeah, guys, so this has been a book review that you guys asked for from Bass, the Bass Angler Sportsman Society. Top techniques of the Bass Pros from the Ultimate Bass Fishing Library. Now, what other books they have in this series, I'm not exactly sure. But yeah, $5. I didn't think that was bad. So y'all remember, like, comment, subscribe. Remember, Jesus loves you. Remember to push. Pray until something happens, and I will see you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching.